Hello, everyone, and welcome to At Barrons. I'm Andy Serwer, and welcome to our guest, Mark Newman, CEO of Chemours. Mark, nice to see you.
Andy, thanks for having me. It's great to be here today.
So why don't we start off by you telling us a little bit about Chemours. People probably aren't that familiar with the company. The name is a portmanteau. We'll get to that in a second.
Yes, absolutely. Chemours is a fascinating company. We're a chemistry company. We're about $7 billion in revenue and about 6,600 employees globally. But our vision for the company, which we promulgated with me becoming CEO a couple of years ago, is that we create a better world through the power of our chemistry. So much about what we're working on is about how we make the world better. We have three industry-leading businesses. We're in refrigerants, we're in fluoropolymers, and we're in titanium dioxide, which is in everything with color. So we're everywhere.
And you guys were spun off of DuPont in 2015, right? So that's where the name comes from. Tell that story.
Yes. So we were a part of DuPont 8 years ago. We spun out in July of 2015. And of course, DuPont's full name is EI DuPont de Nemours. So we picked up the O-U-R-S at the end of the DuPont name, and we combined it with the first part of the word chemistry. So it's our chemistry. It's how we think about the company.
And your ticker sort of speaks to DuPont's ticker as well. You're CC and they're DD, correct?
Yeah, we come ahead of them now. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's but yes, we wanted a ticker symbol that started with C. CC was available. I think it was once a Circuit City, if you remember that name, ticker symbol. And so it was just sitting there at an NYSE, and so we picked it up. And so we've been an NYSE listed company for almost 8 years now.
I want to drill down and ask you some more about your products. One of them that people might know about is Teflon.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about Teflon and the uses of that, et cetera?
So Teflon is, everybody knows the brand name Teflon. Teflon is one of our many fluoropolymer brands. So we have Viton, which is a fluoroelastomer that goes into a lot of things under the hood of a car because it's so, it's heat resistant, chemically resistant. We have Nafion, which is a membrane, which is really key to generating renewable hydrogen in an electrolyzer or consuming hydrogen in a fuel cell. So we have a number of fluoropolymer brands that are well known. We have a number of fluorochemical brands, think refrigerants like Freon, like Opteon, that are also very well known. And so we're industry leaders in both in fluorine chemistry, but in specifically refrigerants and fluoropolymers. So Teflon is a fluoropolymer. By the way, everybody thinks Teflon is all about frying pans.
I do.
Your smartphone doesn't work without Teflon.
Oh, I didn't know that. I just thought it was for frying
pans.
Your
automobile doesn't work without Teflon. Your EV can't be made without Teflon. So, these are high performance polymers that are used in very demanding applications.
Why didn't this business fit in with DuPont's? I know this is a little bit ancient history at this point, but why is that?
So I think DuPont was at a stage where they were trying to restructure their portfolio. They had an ag chemical portfolio, they had a life sciences portfolio, they had an electronics portfolio, and then they had these sort of more mature chemical businesses. And in fact, when we were spun, the majority of the earnings came from titanium dioxide that goes into paint and laminates. It's a much more mature chemistry. And so I think the view was, these are not high growth businesses. They're more cyclical, and we want to be, more in life sciences and ag sciences and high growth electronics fields. Interestingly, we've made the company a lot more growthier through some of the work we've done. And I want to talk to you today about some of the big growth drivers in the company today.
I'm happy to get to that. I do want to ask you, though, about the risks that the chemicals pose. There's always
Yeah.
questions about that with PFASs, forever chemicals, and local environmental groups are agitating about the use of them and discharging and production, et cetera. Talk to us broadly and specifically, if you
Yeah.
like, about how you mitigate those risks.
Yes. And the company has done a lot of work in this regard. In fact, in 2018, we committed to a greater than 99% reduction of any fluoroorganic compounds to air and water. And so we've made significant progress in the last 3 years, and I would say are on track to get to that 99% reduction a lot sooner. When you look at fluorine chemistry, there's sort of two legacy issues that create a lot of the headlines and a lot of the community concerns. One is byproducts from manufacturing. That's where our emissions focus is really at work. And we've invested hundreds of millions of dollars to expedite making this chemistry, this essential chemistry, responsibly. There are other applications, such as in aqueous film forming foams or firefighting foams, as they're called, where they were used broadly, but without containment. And so I think as we get smarter, both in the manufacture and use of these compounds, they can be a very essential part of society. And we can benefit in terms of, whether it's the energy transition or high-speed data from this chemistry. But we need to do it in a different way than we've done it in the past.
And how are you turning Chemours into a growth company? You were talking about some of those ideas.
In the midst of sort of this global macro concern, we had record first quarter earnings in our thermal and specialized solutions or refrigerants. Think of this as refrigerants and propellants business. And it's really because of the focus on climate and the adoption of low global warming potential refrigerants. So the world needs more cooling as the climate warms, whether it's in the food chain, the vaccine chain, but they want refrigerants that are not impacting the environment or have much better environmental signature on the one hand, and they want refrigerants that drive more energy savings. So for example, we're big into heat pumps. Heat pumps are a way to reduce energy consumption for heating and cooling and to decarbonize heating and cooling because you're using electricity as a source of energy. So low global warming refrigerants are a big growth factor. And then fluoropolymers are huge in the whole transition, whether it's hydrogen, EVs, and the whole semicon Internet of Things revolution. We're key to every semicon fabrication and certainly to onshoring semicon in North America.
Why, Mark, should investors buy the stock? It's been up and down over the years. Why should they buy it? Why should they hold it? Why should they invest in it?
So obviously, we have a pretty passionate shareholder base who really believe in the long-term future of the company. And I would describe it this way. When the company was formed, we weren't viewed as a growth company. Clearly, based on the work on the mega trends that we're tied to, clean energy, advanced electronics, climate, we have mega trends that are affecting the growth of our business. We're a company formed with a lot of legacy litigation issues that you mentioned around PFAS, and we continue to work through that litigation. And then finally, we're valued today as a commodity TiO2 company. We trade but as we really shift the portfolio in a very dramatic way through our investments in growth, whether it's our growth in hydrogen or low global warming refrigerants, that's going to become a much more dominant aspect of who we are and our earnings going forward. And in fact, last year, the majority of our earnings came from our TSS and APM segments, which have nothing to do with TiO2. So we've really made a significant shift in our portfolio while we're dealing with legacy issues. And then while we're also investing not only in growth, but in responsible manufacturing of fluorine compounds.
Right. You trained or served, I should say, as the CFO.
Yes.
How did that prepare you for the CEO job?
It was a great experience. I had taken another company public before, but when this opportunity came to take a very high profile DuPont spin public, I jumped at the opportunity. And there was a lot of restructuring or transformation, I think is a better word, on the cost side as we came out of DuPont. And as I said more recently, on the portfolio side. So I think the work I did with our first CEO, Mark Newman, in transforming the company from a cost basis really required a lot of leadership and working with, both business and functional leads on what was best for the long-term future of the company and how to make us much more sustainable.
And final question, Mark, I want to ask you about growing up in Jamaica.
Yes.
And which is must have been quite the experience in working in your father's agriculture business, right?
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I'm very proud of my Jamaican heritage. I think every Chemours employee knows at least one Jamaican saying. But growing up on a farm, as I tell people, gets you very grounded. No pun intended. Because farming is a risk-taking business, and you get your results pretty quickly. Working on the farm, everybody knew who you were. They saw the quality of work that you did, and they kind of measured. Is it consistent with what the family stands for in the community? So I think the farm experience to me was a very clear business. It's running a business, but it was also a very clear connection to the community. And as I've come in to be CEO of Chemours, I'm really focused on, how we impact communities at every one of our sites. Most of our manufacturing is here in the US, and I'm really pleased with how each of our sites are working with local communities to be a trusted neighbor and to make an impact. And I feel that comes from a very personal place in terms of how I grew up in a very local community in Jamaica.
Final follow-up question then. What's a Jamaican saying that you say around the office that you tend to say more often than not?
Yes. So one of my favorite sayings in Jamaica is time longer than rope. Time is longer than rope. So in other words, do the right thing, because in time, it's going to prove out that it's the right thing. And so quite often I remind people that we're on a journey, and time is on the side of those who are doing the right thing.
Mark Newman, CEO of Chemours, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Andy. Pleasure.